Hello, this week I'm going to be working on the kirtle. The kirtle is the fourth layer that I will be wearing and is kind of an undergarment and also an outer garment. So it's going to be essentially the base layer of the gown. I say it's an undergarment because the bodice is going to be entirely covered. It is another support layer in addition to the petticoat. Both the petticoat and the kirtle are made with a stiffened layer of linen canvas buckram. So that is medium weight linen canvas that has been stiffened with hide glue. Both of those get a layer of that inside of them, and so the Tudor time period is kind of about layering your support. So rather than having one supportive garment like we see in later periods, if you recall my Victorian Alice in Wonderland, the corset is really the main support layer for the upper body. Even now, like your bra is the main support layer for your upper body. Anytime from when stays became prevalent in like common wear. So not too far after the time period that I'm making for, so around like the late 1500s, stays did become the main layer of support. Before that, when women were just wearing stiffened fabric as their support layer, it's easier to get the silhouette you want with multiple layers rather than trying to put all of the support into just one layer without having any kind of boning. This is going to be the second layer of support, which is why I say that it is a kind of undergarment. However, it's also visible from the outside, which is why I say it's also kind of an outer garment. Where the kirtle is visible is typically around the neckline. That's where jewels would come in. So if you look at portraits from the Tudor period, you can see a line of jewels around the neckline. That's usually the kirtle showing, and then the actual gown's neckline is cut a little bit lower so that it does show those jewels. The other place that it's visible is in the skirt. So a lot of Tudor gowns have split skirts where you can see a layer underneath the outer skirt, and you can do this a number of ways. I'm going to be doing it with my kirtle. So the skirt of my kirtle will be embellished so that you can see it in between the two front panels of the gown. The other way you can do it is with a four-part, and a separate four-part would be attached to your body just like an apron. You would just have waist ties and it would tie around your waist, and then it would lay on top of your kirtle just like an apron. I think that it is still called a four-part even if it is built into the kirtle. So even if what you're seeing is the kirtle, if you look at a painting and say, look, there's some nice decorated fabric in between the two panels of the overskirt, that's still called a four-part even if it is part of the kirtle. I believe that's correct. If that's not right, please let me know and I will add to the description that I was wrong, but I think that's correct. So where did the kirtle come from? So the kirtle is a garment that has been around since the Middle Ages. It is definitely different in the Tudor period than it was originally. In the Tudor period, the kirtle is two pieces. It's a bodice and a skirt that are made separately and then joined together. However, in the Middle Ages, medieval period, the kirtle is just one long gown. There's no break or seam at the waist. It would just be one long piece. There would be vertical seams, but no horizontal seams. The kirtle in the medieval Middle Ages time period was also used for support, but I don't believe it was made with layers of linen buckram in the same way that it is in the Tudor period. I think it was just mostly wool that was cut and shaped in such a way that it was given support just from the fabric itself rather than having any layers of stiffening. And in the medieval period, the kirtle could be worn as its own garment or it could be worn as an undergarment, whereas during the Tudor period, it is typically worn under another garment for upper class. I think for the working class, the kirtle could be considered its own outer garment, but for the like royalty and upper class nobility, it would have been worn under a separate gown. So that's a brief history of it and kind of like what function it serves. I'm going to be using the pattern from the Tudor Tailor. I'm going to be making the Henrician ladies kirtle. It's a fairly similar pattern to the petticoat that I made, but the petticoat pattern is listed more as being a general Tudor petticoat, whereas this pattern is specifically in the Henrician section of the book. The other thing that's interesting about this specific pattern and was used to save fabric is that kind of the bulk of the petticoat bodice that would not be visible and would be under a gown, plus most of the back of the kirtle, is made in a cheaper fabric and less decorative fabric to save money. So the front, where it would be seen as the four-part, and then around the edges of the neckline where it would be seen for the jewels, and then around the hem in case anything shifts, those would all be your expensive, nice fabric, and then you'd use a cheaper fabric to fill in the rest where it would never be seen by anybody. And that's how you can kind of tell that this was meant to be worn under something. Again, if it was a working class person, they wouldn't be working and doing all of their like more menial labor tasks in these big gowns. So I think the kirtle could be worn as an actual outer garment for these people, but for nobility, because they're going to be wearing other clothing on top of the kirtle, it gives the opportunity to cut costs a little bit. So most of my embellishments are going to be on the front part of the skirt. I have a lot of beading to do because that's good. That's what's going to show under Frau's skirts. Other than that, I've opted not to do the jewels at the neckline because there's just a lot going on. So most of this will not actually be visible. So I will be using the kind of trick to saving fabric that the Tudor Tailor suggests. I'm going to be doing side lacing as well, just because I want the look to be a little bit different than the petticoat, and I'm hoping that it will be easier to get into it, though I'm not super optimistic. I think I'm going to need a lot of help getting into this costume. But that's pretty much all of my rambling. I hope that it wasn't too long-winded, but because this is a pattern that I haven't tried yet, it is technically a different pattern than my petticoat pattern. I'm going to do a mock-up first, so let's go work on the mock-up. So I've just mocked up the top half of the kirtle. I'm pretty confident that the skirt pattern will be just fine as long as I make the adjustments to get it over the farthingale, which I will do. But yeah, I think it looks really good. It was a little bit of a struggle to get it on because I can't move my arms back here, so Micah had to get me in. But I pre-laced this side. The only things that I'm noticing right off the bat is the back is quite high. I think I want to lower it to the point where the petticoat is, just so it's a lot lower backed, and I think that'll just look nicer. Oh, one of the grommets ripped out on this side. That's why it's kind of uneven, and that's why this side is riding up quite a bit. Hem is pretty good. I'm gonna look more on this side because this is the side where the grommet didn't rip out. It's hitting just above the farthingale, so that's great. I think that'll give it just enough clearance to get over the farthingale without causing a lot of bunching at the waist. Frau's bust is like pretty apparent, like there's a soft curve over her bust down to here, which is not a period accurate silhouette, so I've just kind of decided to forego it because I like the look of the like straight bust and then like the cleavagey part. So I've decided that instead I'm just gonna go with what would be like historical and ignore the art for at least this part. I think I actually like this strap placement a little bit more than on the petticoat. That's why I go through all of this, so that I can figure out different styles and see what I like. It's like it's staying on my shoulder better, so that's good. And that'll give me a really good base for the flipper bones in the final garment to like attach into. I was a little bit worried with the petticoat because the shoulder straps do keep slipping off my shoulders a little bit. That obviously would not make a good place for me to anchor the sleeves into, because then like everything would just slide off my shoulders. But this is like really secure. It won't come off my shoulder at all, though maybe that's because it's so high necked, so maybe I shouldn't lower it too much. Probably. I think I can still lower it a little bit without it being an issue. This looks really uneven, and I'm fairly certain it's just because that, oh, this side, it's just because that eyelet popped out. This side is not actually fully laced all the way up. What I did not anticipate, the petticoat is adding a little bit of bulk underneath, which like, I don't think it's very visible, but I'm a little concerned that once I have all of the layers of canvas in the kirtle also, it's going to be kind of bulky. Plus I'm putting a bunch of velvet on top. I don't know. It's getting there in layers. I guess it's probably fine. I think it's fine. Oh, hello. Oh, hello. She's like, I asked to go outside. I did not ask to be in the video. Okay, here. You can't jump on my skirt. It's not a solid thing. I think the neckline on this is great. It cuts a little more than half an inch, maybe like 3/4 of an inch above the petticoat, which is good. So the petticoat will be entirely covered. I guess maybe I want it a little bit lower so the bodice can cut like here. I like this neckline, and I think this is a really good neckline for the bodice specifically. Yeah, so I think I want the outer bodice to have this neckline, so I might drop this by just like a half or 1/4 of an inch, so that once I do make the actual bodice neckline this way, this has no chance of peeking out. I am gonna stick flipper bones in the bodice as well, like all across the neckline and the shoulders and everything, so nothing should show, but just to really make sure, I'm just gonna drop this neckline a tiny bit. A+ to the Tudor Tailor books for their patterns. It worked out just fine. I guess if you're not really the same size as the patterns that they make, then you'll have to adjust it, but like I had no problems with it just coming straight out of the book, so that's cool. The only issue I think that I came up against is that the grading on the seam, it doesn't seem like it's really been trued, which I guess they're historical patterns, so maybe it hasn't been trued. Either the back or the front is slightly smaller than the other one, just like in the length of the side seam, so that needs to be trued up a little bit, which I didn't notice until I was making the mock-up. My bad. But that is really the only adjustment I think I'm gonna have to make, and then this neckline, but that's more of a personal adjustment for this specific costume that I'm making. But other than that, this would be the perfect neckline if this was the thing showing, which normally the kirtle is the thing showing. The gown bodice gets cut lower so that you can see all the jewels and stuff on the kirtle bodice, but because of how Sakizo illustrated Frau, I'm not doing that, so that's why I need to lower it. But if you're just doing this like as an actual historical costume, you won't need to do that. This is perfect and fine. Yeah, I'm very happy with it. I think it looks great. Okay, that's it. That's the end of this fitting.
Bites? Why bites? I need this baby cat. Sorry. I just need to use this real quick. Okay.
Okay, so first fitting of this kirtle, it's pretty much done. It just needs the hem. And I also did some lacing, but I used like 1/8 inch twill tape, which was not strong enough, so both of them popped. So it's not quite as tight as it should be. Actually, it's not as tight as it should be at all. But you'll see how it should actually be in the final reveal. Mostly, I just wanted to check the hem on this fitting and also make sure that like the skirt looked okay. So when I put the skirt on first, the front panel just was not wide enough. It like looked really sad and like this. It ended up like making one of those like smiley U shapes, and it was just not good. So what I had to do was replete everything. So I moved a lot of the volume that was on the side to the front, and I made a new slit, and like I just turned that and the seam allowance in. Man, this is just like not staying together now. I'm gonna have to make a new lacing. I should zoom out some more because you can't actually see everything. Okay, there we go. Now you can kind of see the skirt. I think that the hem is actually really good. I was unsure when I pinned it that it was going to cover all of the farthingale, especially the first time I put the skirt on. It was just, I don't know, it was kind of riding up like this and it just didn't look right. I think the back length is also good. Let's see where the farthingale is. Oh yeah, that covers it really nicely. You can see that it's kind of falling out. I just have the hem basted up right now, and I'm going to be binding it with the same fabric as all of this extra stuff back here that isn't the pretty fabric. I'm going to bind it with this, so it'll just be flipped up rather than doing a bagged hem. Originally I thought to do a bagged hem, but the Tudor Tailor suggested a bound hem, so that is what I'm going to be doing, and I think it'll be fairly quick. So hooray! I'm going to get the hem up there, and I'm going to put some real lacing in there that won't snap as soon as I put pressure on it. All right, so I'm gonna do those things now, and then we're on to the reveal. So despite all odds, I think that this turned out really well. I think it's very cute. It's got a cute shape, and like the skirt is cute, even though you can't see it right now. But so I wanted the side ties because I was like, oh, I can do it myself. I cannot do it myself. However, I can lace one of them up and put it on, and then Micah can lace the other one up, and then all he has to do is give me enough extra like slack in the ties that pretty much I can just pull and it tightens itself, which is really cool. I can just tuck these into the side slits there and they're gone. Magic trick. Awesome. Oh, my sweet girl. Hello. Hi. I love how the beading turned out. It took forever. That was like the single longest part of this kirtle, but I think it turned out really pretty, and I'm super excited that it actually gets to show. Like, this is kind of an undergarment, but kind of not. Okay. Good girl. You will see all of the work that I put into this. And that also means that we're out of undergarment land. Like, even if this was only like kind of half an undergarment and half a showing garment, like I get to start working on the real things now, which is very exciting. So the lining for this kirtle is just entirely different colors, all of it. So we have this blue-gray here and a cream over here, and then a shiny silver over here. And then the top I think is the cream color. Yeah, it is. That ended up happening because I was really trying to use some stash fabrics. I didn't want to have to purchase a bunch of lining just for this. So I ended up using my stash fabric, and then halfway through cutting it, I realized that I did not have enough because I had expanded the skirt so much. So I was like, okay, well, I'll use the silver stuff because gray with silver, it'll still kind of be cool tone, it'll be fine. And then I ran out of that. So found the cream stuff just also in my stash, just kind of as a last ditch as I was searching through things. I was like, am I gonna just have to buy some kind of silver or gray lining? That would be stupid. But no, I was able to find a cream, and it is not too big of a deal, but it does shift the undertones of this skirt. So like, I don't know if you can really tell, but the side, see, this is the silver side, this is the cream side. So this side with the silver is a little bit cooler undertone than this side, which is the cream side, which I don't think is super noticeable from far away, but it is noticeable if you're standing right up there and stitching stuff to it. So something to know for the future. If you are mixing and matching your lining, try to make sure they give your fabric the same undertones. I did the Tudor Tailor trick of using my fancy fabric for the front piece and then for the bottom part of the kirtle, but then supplementing with the top half a cheaper fabric. I don't know if it's actually cheaper, but I did have this in my stash already, so I didn't have to buy as much new pretty fabric because I already had some of this. The biggest problem that I had was when I expanded the kirtle skirt to match the farthingale skirt. I made the farthingale much bigger than any of the recommended farthingale tutorials say to, and I did that because I want a big princess gown, right? So I then had to expand the kirtle to fit over my big princess farthingale, and I did that mostly by expanding the back because I had to do so much beading on the front. I didn't know if I had enough beads to cover an expanded front. That was a big mistake. When I attached the skirts, this front panel was the only panel on the front of the bodice, which meant it was being stretched out way too much to go over the farthingale, and it just looked really bad. I had all of this white satin attached to the back, which meant that this back part was way too much volume, and to get around to the front of the skirt, it was creating really big diagonal drag lines. There's still a little bit of that you can see, but like, it's pretty much resolved itself at this point. Even though I had already sewed it on, I had to detach all of it and then re-pleated it to see if I could make it so if this amount in the front was good. So I just basted that on. I tacked a little bit up in the back, but mostly left this free, and then I tried it on really quickly and that was fine. So that looked good. I had to leave this part mostly free so that I could still get it on because these slits had to be cut in after the fact. Before, I was just using the seam where this front panel and this side panel met up. And I did not get any video of any of that because I was really rushing to get this all done, so sorry for that. I will try to do better next time. But once I got the pleating all sorted out, then I was able to attach it permanently to the bodice on both the front and the back. And then I cut a slit out of the side, and I just like cut that straight into the fabric, folded back the edges of the slit and hand stitched it shut. So it looks like a little pocket, but I didn't make pockets, so this is just like a pocket to nowhere. Oh, and then there's like a little part of the hem where it doesn't quite cover the farthingale, but it's kind of towards the side back, so I'm just hoping that it's never noticeable because the skirt will always be covering it, but it's fine. That's it. That's all I got. I am really happy with how this all turned out despite all of the stress it gave me. Also, this fabric frays like crazy, so I had to serge everything multiple times because it just kept pulling out eventually. The serging did help, it just did not help indefinitely, so things got serged multiple times. Not great, but it's so pretty and I love it, so worth it, I guess, maybe. So thank you guys for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, you think I did a bad job of something, then let me know. If you think that I fixed it well, also let me know. I would like to know that my efforts were not in vain. And if you want to see the rest of this dress, we're finally moving on to the full like gown dress part. Not before moving on to a mock-up though. Oh yeah, do a mock-up, because that's what screwed me, was not doing a mock-up of the skirt. That was just bad. Should have done a mock-up. I will be doing a skirt mock-up for the actual gown so that I do not have those issues again. But yeah, if you want to see said mock-up and actual skirt, then please subscribe. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Okay, bye!